Hello guys, my name is Paul K, aka Eva, and today I'm bringing you an update video about the state of Mage specs with patch 6.2. 5 weeks have passed, almost 6, from the release of the patch. Nerfs and boosts have gone through to some classes, so I felt that was a good time to release such a video to let you guys know about gear, talents and what spec to play in each boss in Hellfire Citadel. First of all, let's start with Arcane. Arcane is the king of single target DPS of all the 3 Mage specs. Saying that, some cleave can be done, but not as good as the other 2 specs though. Every mage spec has its niche, and Arcane's is a single target. That means you're probably gonna play Arcane on most of the fights in Hellfire if you wanna maximize your DPS output. Let's start with the talents. Level 15, pretty standard. Your best choice is Ice Flows, moving while casting. What's better than that, right? You could go with Evanescence, or whatever the thing is pronounced, really situational though, and you don't wanna sacrifice that movement while casting. Same thing at level 13, Ice Barrier, kinda bummed that it's on the GCD and can screw with your DPS sometimes, but I believe it's the best option. Note that Flame Glow was nerfed in 6.2, some people tend to prefer this still, cause it's passive and you don't really lose any DPS with it, but Ice Barrier feels generally better. Level 45 don't matter at all, I pick Ring of Frost, pick whatever you want. Level 60 now, I prefer greater invisibility. You can really soak stuff like black holes on Zul'Horak and so on, making you good in quote unquote special missions, right? Making you contribute to the raid tactics besides your DPS. Now it comes to the real stuff, the DPS talents, right? Before you get tier 18, you go with Supernova, Rune of Power, if you can stay 80% of the time on it, otherwise you pick Encadre's Flow. Oh, and if you are doing a cleave fight, like 2 or 3 targets, you pick Nether Tempest. And Prismatic Crystal for single target. Arcane Orb if you are gonna DPS 2 or more targets constantly, all the time. And Overpower if for some reason the boss is moved so much you can't play Crystal, you can't benefit from the Crystal thing, Cormrock if you have bad tanks or something. After you get your tier 18 force set, seems so that Unstable Magic pulls ahead of Supernova. And that segues us into gear. You want your force set as an Arcane Mage really fast. Those images from your 2 set and the buff you get from your 4 set while your image is active are just ridiculously overpowered. Now these guys, the images that you pop, that I can show you guys right here if I get a proc, there we go, let's hope. I have a sweet recorder for those to show me how much seconds on each image I have remaining, because if you are lucky you can get like this, 2 images at a time. Now these images are pretty OP and they are benefiting from your stats, so haste makes them attack more often. And after a certain breakpoint, which is 1300 haste, they gain an extra attack. You want to reach that breakpoint right as you get your 2 set even. By the way, that's 20% raid buffed haste, so 15% without the raid buff. Once you get your 4 set though, that breakpoint increases and you wanna reach 25 to 26% haste rating, raid buffed as always, because you want to keep the buff given by your 4 set, which is 12% more damage while you have an image, as much as possible. I have made, that said, of course you want the haste enchant and gems on your gear, as you can see here, I even have Warsong on my weapon. I have made best in slot lists for from gear from Hellfire Citadel, check them in the description below. Now let's talk about Glyphs. That said, Arcane Power Glyph, you'll notice that I don't have it equipped. Why? Because I have the Trinket, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you guys why in a bit. You want Glyph of Slow, Glyph of Arcane Explosion and Rapid Displacement. They are all pretty much glyphs that suit your playstyle. Of course you can skip one of these two or rapid displacement if you don't have the trinket and obviously you want the arcane power glyph. Trinkets. You hear that word from my mouth a lot, right? The class trinket makes you change your playstyle a bit, noting that you don't have the arcane power glyph anymore, because you burn mana so fast with the arcane, with the class trinket. I have found that with heroism I can do 4.5 seconds arcane blast casts. Once you get Prophecy of Fear though, which sadly I don't have yet because it hasn't dropped at any point, it changes your rotation a bit, and by a bit I mean when you have it procced on the boss, you want to dump all your arcane missile procs on it, because every hit of the from the missiles proc the AoE Nova from the trinket. Note that multistrikes do not count, they do not proc the trinket. Now if you are pulling and you are doing your natural pull like, right, and you get a proc like here from the Mark of Doom, you want to reach 4 stacks, proc your crystal, but your AMs you want them to be on the boss and not on the crystal. You want to keep on arcane blasting the crystal, but you want your arcane missiles on the boss, because all these missiles will proc the trinket, and the damage from the Nova from the trinket will hit the crystal, and the crystal will hit the boss back. Pretty insane, right? Talking about insane, right? Let's switch over to Frost, because Frost has insane 2-target cleave with the Forset and the class trinket. Talents are pretty much the same, right? So these don't change at all. Note that for 75 you want Unstable Magic, because it was kinda buffed and it procs on multi-strikes, and since you have haste and chance on your gear because you are playing arcane as well, you can do that by the way with the Faucet. It procs quite often and it's the best choice. Now for level 90 it's the same. Rune of Power if you can stay 80% on it, otherwise pick Incanter's Flow. And for level 100 you want Thermal Void on 2+ targets, and you want Prismatic Crystal if for some reason you are gonna play Frost on single target. It's ridiculous how much time you can keep up the Ice Flows buff with the Force Center and your class trinket. Small changes in your best in slot list, again check it out on the link in the description below. Keep in mind you can absolutely play Frost with haste and chance that you have as arcane, making that switch between the specs really easy. Now Glyphs. Mandatory glyph, those two mandatory glyphs, let's say, Glyph of Splitting Ice and Glyph of Icy Veins. You always, on every single boss you wanna play with those. And the third glyph I pick Water Elemental, cause I don't wanna have my elemental in the other side of the room when I need to water jet, and you water jet pretty often with your 4-piece, right? And if you don't move that much, you can play Rapid Displacement. As I play on Arcane, you have 2 charges on your blink. Now into gameplay. Again, Forset, class trinket, change your playstyle completely. Alright? Especially your Forset, increase the duration of Water Jet by 4 seconds and increase the total Fingers of Frost stacks by 2. What that means was before the Forset, you never did Frozen Orb while Water Jet is active. Now you don't care, you just spam those motherfuckers, right? So let's do an open. So you wanna pre-pot on 3 seconds or 2 seconds, you start casting and immediately you wanna Water Jet, right? You are gaining those sweet stacks, 4 stacks. I pop Icy Veins and now my Water Jet runs out. You always wanna end the Water Jet with 4 stacks. And now I can delay my orb, and now there goes my orb. and I keep on doing it. As you can see, my Icy Veins is still running, still getting refreshed by all those stacks. And there you go, 0 multi-strike, and I have saved Ice Lances. Again, 4 stacks, Frostbolt, Ice Lance, weave them as you want your trinket. Keep in mind, Brain Freeze, now I can spend those, or you can check the timer on it, and you can spend those while they are about to run out. I can link you guys the weak auras I'm using for basically I will link you guys the weak auras I'm using for the extra procs. There we go, 4 stacks again, and you go like this. Note that now my orb is coming off cooldown. My water just ran out, which is really cool, right? So, orb, there you go, orb, go do your business. And now that you notice that my water jet is about to come off cooldown, I fire it, I don't mind. Now 4 stacks again, weave, again and again and again. You notice that I don't run out at all from Ice Lance charges, which is really insane, right? And you see those unstable magics pop all the time, 4 in a row. That's really much, really big DPS. Sorry for my English, guys. Come on. So that's the playstyle for Frost with a trinket. And before you were just spamming, oh come on Elemental, there we go. Before you were just spamming Ice Lances, right? Once you saw them, now you have to weave them after your Frostbolt. As you can see, they do XX% more damage. Prophecy of Fear doesn't change that much though, it's still your second best in slot trinket. Prophecy of Fear doesn't change that much since you're not playing with Crystal, right? So Fire sadly has gone away. RIP. Fire spec, it was stealth nerfed even, it was nerfed to the ground, especially tier 17 2 set. Rest in peace, Sweet Prince. Also the stealth nerf I mentioned was 50% less damage in your Pyroblast dot, which makes me really sad. It is the best spec on 3 targets, constantly 3 targets, but I don't believe you really wanna sacrifice either playing Frost or Arcane on every other boss and switch to Fire. So saying that, I'm gonna leave you guys with some tier 17 pool of Fire, a really good pool I had on Thogar. Rest in peace, Fire spec, you are my favorite. See ya!